So the egg and the lining disintegrate and flow out of the body through the vagina. That's called menstruation.
Menstru what?
Menstruation.
What a funny word.
Yes, it is, but it makes a lot of sense.
It does?
Sure. Menstruation comes from the Latin word menses, which means monthly.
Oh, yeah.
Hey there, I'm Raine Grayson, Organizational and Programs Manager here at TMI Project, and the director of the new season of the podcast. It's called Period Power Stories, and if that name sounds familiar, you've probably been following TMI Project's work over the past couple of years. But if not, let me set the scene. In 2023, students from Kingston High School's Period Power Club took part in a 10-week TMI Project storytelling workshop, where they wrote and performed their personal stories about their experiences with periods, stigma, activism, and empowerment. Now, for the first time ever, we're bringing you those performances not just as audio, but as part of a brand new video podcast series. That means you can still listen here, but if you prefer, you can also watch the full episodes on YouTube. Period Power Stories features the students' powerful true storytelling performances, behind-the-scene conversations, and interviews with their incredible advisor, Tina Dierna, and other special guests, including New York State Senator Michelle Hinchy. It was filmed in partnership with HUDSY on their beautiful new soundstage in Kingston, New York. The full 7-episode season launches September 24th. We hope you'll watch, listen, and share it widely, especially with the young people and educators in your lives. To whet your appetite, today we're revisiting an episode from 2023 that planted the seeds for the season ahead. Katie, Raine, and Tina the Tampon Lady from Season 6. After this episode originally aired, it went on to win multiple awards, including Best Auditory Storytelling at the 2024 Festival of Media Stories, and helped lay the foundation for everything that's coming next. If you like what you hear and want to get involved, TMI Project is available to offer true storytelling workshops, performances, and curriculum for your school and workplace. To learn more, visit tmiproject.org. Enjoy.
Because monthly, this lining of blood and tissue builds up to receive the egg that monthly breaks out of the ovary.
You mean that every month a new baby could start growing there?
Students started to come in asking for period products. So a lot of schools keep them in the nurse's office, or they're kept kind of under lock and key or hidden. So New York State passed a law to have all public school bathrooms have period products. And so we noticed that there weren't any in the bathrooms. I started to put out a little container outside of my office, and I just became like the tampon lady.
It's the TMI Project Story Hour, a series of true stories created in our writing workshops by everyday unsung heroes. They all divulge the too much information parts we usually keep to ourselves for personal liberation, human connection, and freedom, both for themselves and those who listen. As the TMI implies, some content might be too much information for some listeners. And remember, your support keeps our content free and accessible to everyone who wants to listen. So if you like what you hear and you're able to chip in at tmiproject.org, thank you. Either way, we're glad you're listening.
Seems I might be one to remember. Is that a secret you're keeping?
What if you have the cramps and have to go to bed? Isn't something wrong if your period doesn't come every 28 days?
Is it abnormal if the amount of flow is always changing?
Are we expected to suffer and still go about our business as usual when we have the curse?
Before we get started this week, I have a few questions for you. Did you know that 76% of students in the U.S. are taught more about the biology of a frog than they are about bodies that menstruate?
Frogs lay hundreds of millions of eggs each year. What if they all hatched?
Did you know that 50% of menstruators do not know what on earth is happening the first time they get their period?
I was sort of horrified. I didn't really, understand what was happening. Disgusting with me.
Did you know a recent study looked at how trans and non-binary youth experience periods and found out that 93% experience distress? Depending on where you're tuning in from, these stats may be shocking. Or it may be shocking that we're talking about periods at all. Even though every month around 1.8 billion people menstruate worldwide, it remains one of the ultimate TMI topics.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. We're moving today. I'm so scared, God. I've never lived anywhere but here.
I got my period when I was 11 years old. Like every other sixth grader in 1984, I read, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret," cover to cover. And yet I was still so ashamed of my body and what it was doing that I didn't tell anyone. Instead, I hid my underwear behind our washing machine in the basement. I didn't tell my mom. I would not have dreamt about asking a nurse for a tampon or a pad. And I definitely would not have stepped on stage and told a story about my period if you paid me $1 million. Just do it. Picture yourself in high school. Would you ever do such a thing? Do such a thing? Do such a thing? Do such a thing? This is why I personally feel so excited to work with this new group of emboldened students from Kingston High School's Period Power Club, the next cohort of TMI Project storytellers to take to the stage and speak truth to power. I am simply in awe of these brave young people. We can't share their stories with you today because these students are still in the midst of their writing workshop.
We're going to write, and then we're going to read our stories. So it is definitely going to be a super focused day. So I'm going to just remind you what a TMI monologue should look like.
You can hear their finished pieces on December 6th, in person in Kingston, New York, or via live stream from anywhere with an internet connection. Today, however, you will meet some of our everyday unsung heroes, the people behind the scenes, like Katie, one of the youth activists.
So Period Power is a primarily student-run club in the high school. We have Miss Tina Dierna as our adult advisor.
We are a chapter of Period.org that is a global organization. We are here to eradicate period stigma and period poverty.
And you'll meet Raine Grayson. He is the TMI Project workshop leader you just heard earlier, working with this group.
I think Period Power Stories is important because there's so little education about it. Being a trans man and getting your period is a very wild experience, to say the least. There's so many different things you have to know about your endocrine system and your reproductive system as a trans person that I really only recently found out as a 31-year-old. And just like boys aren't invited into learning about periods when you're in middle school, nobody knows about trans people. Nobody knows that hormones affects your period. And children are coming to terms with their gender and having a lot of gender exploration much younger because luckily that information is out there now, but only some of the information. So leaving the trans experience out of the conversation, it's just a non-negotiable. It's not reproductive justice. It's not period power. So these kids really standing up and speaking a full truth, just having folks say everybody's invited to the table is so radical to begin with. It's just amazing. And it shows that anybody can do it. If these kids can do it, high school's so hard. If they can speak like that, then we can do better.
Katie makes another great point about why educating everyone about each other's bodies is so key.
Women should have to sit in for discussions about male anatomy and vice versa. You know, guys and people that don't menstruate, they need to know what people are going through. It just creates insensitivity and ignorance. And those people grow up to become the lawmakers that pass these horrible, constraining laws.
DeSantis had this to say about the bills.
We're protecting kids, and we're going to protect kids when it's popular. We'll protect kids even when you take some incoming as a result of maybe offending some ideologies or some agendas out there, but that's fine. That's fine.
Right now, if you live in the state of Florida, if you are in elementary school, you cannot talk about menstruation, and the period word is not acceptable.
Ms. Dierna is referring to House Bill 1069. You've probably heard of it. It's an expansion of the Don't Say Gay bill that already impacted open discussion of sexuality, pronouns, and the right to ban books and educational resources in Florida. As of July, it limits discussion or education about menstruation through 6th grade. This is especially troubling because every decade people start to menstruate earlier. The younger people are, the more traumatic it can be. And lack of education increases fear, shame, and anxiety.
The first time I got my period, I was young. I was like 8 or 9. I was a tiny little baby. Nobody talked to children about their periods. I remember it was the 4th of July, and I went to the bathroom, and I thought I was dying, very scared by it. Everybody I talked to has a very similar story. They're just like, what is happening to me? Am I dying?
Now, if a young person gets their period for the first time while they're at school and goes to a teacher or the nurse for help, they will not be able to talk to them about what's happening. They will just have to call their parents. To be honest, it wasn't until we started doing this work that I realized how uneducated I was on the subject. Before I encountered the Period Power Club, I had never heard the term period poverty. Luckily, Katie is well informed on the topic.
So period poverty, to put it simply, is like having to choose between providing dinner for your family or getting all the menstruators in your house pads or tampons. Menstrual products are expensive, and people that already struggle have a hard time affording what they need to function, basically.
Seriously, can you imagine paying for toilet paper, soap, or paper towels in public restrooms? Access to products, or lack thereof, impacts students' attendance, their grades, and ultimately, their futures. But there is a reason that these items are not provided. It turns out that menstrual products are a big business, estimated to pull in $4.5 billion in the U.S. alone in 2023.
We do a lot of fundraising throughout the year so we could afford to buy period products. We did a sock drive many years ago. We did a diaper drive, and we got all of these supplies brought to our school, buckets full. And we did a period drive, and it was like, oh, okay, we got a small box. We as a society are continuing to stigmatize periods. We don't discuss it out in the open. You're kind of shunned, you keep it hidden. We should really be talking about this, and we should make sure every student has the ability to have period products. We also want good products.
The products that we got are really bad. They're in cardboard boxes, they're clumpy, they barely absorb anything, and they're super uncomfortable. I was doing some research to find an argument for our school to get better products, and in my rabbit hole, I found out that like a lot of menstrual products on the market, whether it's pads or especially tampons, they contain things that should never be in people. There's bleaches and dyes that shouldn't be anywhere near them. And so I was wondering whether our products in school had anything like that. And so I did research on the website. I looked at the product description, nothing disclosing anything about that. Of course, why would they? So I called their corporate number, and a person answered, and I asked them, and she got a little bit rude and said, "We can't tell you that." I feel that what goes in menstrual products could be more closely regulated.
The FDA regulates and classifies menstrual products as medical devices, meaning they are not subject to the same labeling laws as other consumer items. But despite all of this, Katie and other youth activists are not giving up.
We fought for menstrual product dispensers in our female and gender-neutral restrooms, and we continue to fight for better products and to raise awareness because we notice people are still struggling with period poverty and stigma.
It is this unrelenting dedication for equity that is fueling this group to do what, in my youth, was unthinkable: stand on stage and tell stories about their periods in front of a live audience and online for people around the world to hear.
Kudos to Kingston High School for allowing our students to really have a voice. Systemically, there's a lot of change that needs to happen, and Kingston School District is here for the long haul and making some of these big changes and allowing us to do this good work.
We hope you will join us for the event, and stay tuned for all of the content that will follow. Videos on our YouTube page, a special podcast collection featuring all of their finished stories, and other educational materials. They are not messing around. It is their goal to create a blueprint for change that can be used at schools nationwide.
We're hoping to start a movement of people starting their own clubs in different parts of the world, in different parts of the country, even in neighboring school districts. We try to spread our word and advocate, and we hope others will be inspired to do the same.
I believe with your help they can do it. There is no better investment than supporting a young person who has the audacity to change the world. If you can, give them the gift of a story with a donation today at tmiproject.org/support. At TMI Project, we practice what we preach. All of our workshop leaders have experience telling their own true stories. While Raine will not be performing with the students on December 6th, he was willing to share a little of his story here with you all today. This is not a monologue performed on stage. This is a story just for you. Here's Raine.
Hi, I'm Raine Grayson. My pronouns are he, him. I am a trans man. I've been out for a decade now, over a decade, a very long time. The first time I got my period, I feel like it wasn't very different than a lot of other people. Doesn't mean it wasn't traumatic. It just wasn't different. When I first started transitioning, before hormones had stopped my period, I was so scared to go to a public restroom because you can hear, when somebody's changing their pad in the bathroom, what's happening. And there's no receptacles. You can't throw out a pad in the man's bathroom unless you take it out with you, which I also wasn't going to do. So it just led to me not going anywhere when I had my period, or at least not going anywhere publicly, because I have been assaulted in bathrooms before without having a literal alarm going off telling people who I am and what I was and what was going on in there. And then later on, when I stopped getting my period, it was like magic. It was like a light bulb turned on. And I was like, oh, okay, I never want to do that again. That was terrible. One thing I wish people knew about was just what it's like to experience gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria, to me, it feels like you're not in control of your own body. You know, it feels like not having the ability to dance in public. It feels like not wearing the clothes you want to wear. It feels like looking in the mirror and not seeing somebody that you recognize. It feels like not looking in a mirror at all. It is really like a monster that you are constantly just kind of holding on your back that you feel, but nobody else sees. It is such a privilege to not feel like your own body is your enemy. And a period can really do that to people. And when I stopped having periods, I was able to feel like I was more of a man, and I felt more connected to myself and less like I had to hide. And I actually, when I moved from state to state, I had a huge lapse in my hormones because doctors didn't know anything about trans people. I remember I started a new primary care physician and I just didn't think anything of it. I was like, hey, here is my situation. I need these hormones. And they sent me to another doctor who didn't deal with hormones at all. And they sent me to another doctor who was terrible. And then finally I got put on a wait list for a trans-specific healthcare clinic. The wait list was like 5 or 6 months to get seen. And in that time, I was rationing my hormones. I was supposed to take it every week. I was taking it like once a month just to make sure I could stave off the inevitable. And finally, I ran out and I had a period. And I remember just having one of the worst panic attacks of my life. And it really set me back in my depression and in my dysphoria. And it took me like months to really recover from what that did to me mentally. And there was no reason I shouldn't have had my hormones in terms of my health. It was complete incompetence and nobody thinking about things like that. But it really made me realize how not part of the conversation I was. Nobody talked about men menstruating. And I didn't really want to talk about it either because it was so hard for me and so dysphoric. Even when I would go to my trans support group, I didn't talk about it because I didn't even want to face it. It sucked that it was something that always had to be on my shoulders in terms of like educating people about it and even just making space for other trans people to talk about it. You know, there's so much trauma around it as a woman. And then to add that extra layer, it's so much heavier and so much harder to hold. It's very erasing and you always have to stick up for yourself. And it makes it hard to really show up in the way you want to show up. I consider myself an avid feminist. I have a lot of trouble hanging out in feminist forward spaces because it is very girl power, which I am all about. But when we are talking about things like pregnancy and menstruation, it is not just a girl power thing. And all of a sudden, so many people who could show up to the fight feel like they're not invited to even fight for things that are part of their bodies and traumas that we all share. I know many men who feel just like many women that they thought they were dying the first time they got their period, but they can't talk about it because they won't get the girl power. They won't get that rallying cry behind them. So to see anybody really show up and make space for anybody who has a uterus it's not only it's insanely radical, it just makes a fight that we should all be fighting available for all of us to fight.
Thank you, Raine, for sharing your truth with us today and helping this group of amazing young people craft their own true stories to share with the world. It really makes a difference.
For years, I struggled. I was always scared to speak up. I wasn't really vocal, and I also hated the sound of my own voice. It was a big issue, but because of what I saw through Period Power Club, and because of the new confidence that I have in being myself and finally being happy, I found my voice, and I now use it to speak up for others and to say what needs to be said.
Again, if you would like to support the students from the Period Power Club, create a blueprint for change for schools nationwide, give them the gift of a story with a donation today at tmiproject.org/support.
Looked at her, took a seat. Is that a secret you're keeping?
If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps. TMI Project is available to offer true storytelling workshops and performances for your school or workplace. To learn more or to support our work, you can find details about it all at tmiproject.org. This episode of the TMI Project Story Hour was produced in partnership with Radio Kingston. It was written, edited, and produced by me, Eva Tenuto, Blake Pfeil, and Raine Grayson. Our theme song is Secrets by Edison Woods. I'm Eva Tenuto, TMI Project's Executive Director. Our Operations and Programs Manager is Blake Pfeil. Our Organizational Administrator is Raine Grayson. Our Marketing and Digital Coordinator is Laura Marie Ruocco. Our Administrative Assistant is Riley Gibbons. Our Graphic Designer and Webmaster is Lauren Gill. Our workshop leaders are Perla Iora, Hayley Downs, Raine Grayson, Ray Lipkin, Dara Laurie, Micah, Julie Novak, Blake Pfeil, and me, Eva Tenuto. New episodes of the TMI Project Story Hour come out every Wednesday. To learn more and to find a special writing prompt so you can start telling your story, visit tmiproject.org/podcast.